Are you curious to know what it's like to live in Fort Wayne in the wintertime? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to go over the pros and the cons of living in Fort Wayne in winter 2023. Hey everybody, my name is Dave. Welcome to my channel where we talk about Fort Wayne, what it's like to live here, play here, work here, and we also talk about from time to time the housing market. So if that is something that interests you, please make sure to like this video if you do like it, of course, but more importantly, subscribe to my channel. That way you get notified each time I make a new video. So let's get right into it, guys. First of all, I want to talk about the cons of living in Fort Wayne in the wintertime. There are several, and I think you should know these if this is an area that you are exploring as a possibility of relocating to. And let's talk about the first thing, and let's get the cat out of the bag. Wintertime. Winter is difficult for a lot of people, myself included. It gets cold, according to my wife, and I would have to agree with this, and probably a lot of other people would agree too. There's not a lot of fun things to do, especially for kids. I asked her what her feedback was when I was researching ideas for this video, and she said that's the number one thing for her is just lack of activities for people to do. And so I guess, I was thinking about what we spend our time on. And our kids naturally want to play video games, it seems like. So we're constantly trying to get them outside and get them into activities. Some things that they're doing right now and that a lot of other kids are doing is they are playing baseball. One of them, my 8-year-old, is playing baseball at the Ash Center. And that just started. They are both doing indoor soccer at the Plex. So we have a soccer facility. There's a north and then there's a south location called the Plex, and tons of kids play there. So that's what they're doing. We also, from time to time, we have a Sky Zone, so we go there from time to time. We have a few like laser tag places that we'll go to. Those I find they're fun. I play with my boys. They're 6 and 8. We play laser tag. They're really expensive, so you'll burn through $100 easily going there, especially if you start getting trapped in the video games while you're waiting. But that's something that we do. We also have an outdoor ice skate park downtown at Promenade that I believe is open until March. And within a short drive to Fort Wayne, or from Fort Wayne, we've got several ski places in Michigan. So within probably an hour and a half to 5 hours, there's a few good choices. They are very small hills, so if you're coming from a place with like mountains, like these are not bad at all. There's probably just tall enough to get some sort of momentum before you stop in a flat plane, but it's something to do, and it's a pretty short drive. All in all, you do have limited options in Fort Wayne in the wintertime with activities for kids. And for adults, you guys, there's not a lot to do. What we find as entertainment to go out, like, my wife and I will go on a date to a restaurant. We'll eat. We might stop at one of our like local bars, have a drink, and then go home. That's pretty much it. It's okay though. Let's move on to the next thing that's a con in Fort Wayne, and that is the dark days. So I've talked about this before, but in Fort Wayne in the wintertime, we've got some pretty good stretches where we don't see sunlight, and it can go on for what seems like several days, 3, 4, 5 days. Today, fortunately, is very sunny. It's a pretty day, and when you have those, you really appreciate them. But as this screenshot shows, in the month of January, we didn't have much sunshine, and it can weigh heavy on people. So that's something to consider. If you're from a location with a lot of sunshine, I've heard it can be hard to adapt to this. Next, guys, is that it gets cold in Fort Wayne, and we do get snow. So we currently have snow on the ground. We've had snow for the last week. I think we got like 6 inches. It was our second, I believe, snow event of the year. When I say like snow event, it was like, substantial, above a couple inches. So I think it was the second time we've had above 6 inches in Fort Wayne, and it can cause delays. It can cause an interruption, in your everyday life. And the snow, it can stick around for a while. It gets dirty. It can get ugly. Some people love it. It's cool. There's a novel feeling to it when you get your first snowfall. It's peaceful, stuff like that. But it seems to stick around longer sometimes than what I would like it to be. With the temperatures, we do have like a northern climate. I wouldn't say it's like too bad personally. Our average temperature is really like, it sits right above freezing. So it's about like 33 degrees in January. And it can fluctuate. Sometimes it'll be cold for 3 or 4 or 5 days. It'll be like in the 20s with a low in like the low teens. But then it'll open up and it'll be in the 40s and 50s for several days. And I just looked at the weather. We're actually headed towards that. So you just kind of got to roll with it. In my opinion, it's not too cold, but there are some times when like your face hurts from going outside. So you do have to dress appropriately. Next, guys, and this is like high on my cons list, is the potholes. So if you don't know, a pothole in the road forms when water gets below the surface of the concrete or the asphalt and gets below, and then it freezes, then it expands, which then pushes the material, the concrete or the asphalt up, and then starts to crack it. Then once the water thaws out, it goes away, and then the material sinks back down. Cars drive over it, it starts to crumble, and then very, very quickly, there's a hole. And it does not take long for this to happen. So you can continue down your normal commute, and one day it's fine, the next day there's a giant hole. And they come out of nowhere, and it really, really, really irks me when I drive over a pothole, especially when it it messes up your car. Like you hit it, like you know that feeling, and it's irritating. But that is an inherent nature of living in any environment where it freezes. Our city does a pretty good job. I would commend them. Like, they've got a crew that goes and they fix the potholes, but probably statistically speaking, if you're going to be driving in Fort Wayne, you're going to hit potholes. And even when you're acutely aware of looking out for them, like I feel like I am. So another thing to consider if you're from a warmer environment is that we have school delays because of the weather that we see in the wintertime. And these can be very inconvenient, especially if you're a parent who works with very short notice. You can get a message that your kid's school is delayed or closed, and you've got to decide how to manage that. Some people have a flexible work schedule. Some people simply are not able to take off so quickly, so you have to make arrangements. And now, since COVID, I believe, we've got e-learning days, so it's an active type role in that day off that the parent or guardian is required to play in the child's life. So that is something that definitely interrupts your day. We would all rather have our kids to be in school, but sometimes it's just too unsafe for them to travel. Another thing about Fort Wayne in the wintertime is we get snow, and then to get rid of the snow, the crews plow it, but they also add salt to the roads. And salt it comes at a high cost. So it does do a good job, but it wreaks havoc on your car. So it can eat away at the car's finish, so like the underbody. Salt also is really bad for concrete. So if you are buying a new house or a house with nice concrete in Fort Wayne, you really got to decide if you're going to salt your driveway and your walks. I personally don't do it because salt creates divots in your concrete, and it will start destroying it over time. Then it starts crumbling. So salt's really bad on concrete. And then what happens after a big snow and you have to drive down the roads? Well, you need to get your car cleaned. So we go to the car washes here in Fort Wayne, which surprisingly probably to a lot of people I think they do most of their business actually in the wintertime. There will be a huge line after a snow, like the next day, huge line, and you'll have to wait. So that is another inconvenience of living in Fort Wayne and dealing with the weather, with the snow. All right, guys, so we talked about the cons of living in Fort Wayne in the wintertime. Now let's talk about some of the pros of living in Fort Wayne in the wintertime. And highest on my list is the fact that there are 4 seasons. I actually like having 4 seasons because you're living in a constant cycle or a constant change. I believe that if you live in just one season, I feel like a person could get dull to that. And I want to say that I've never actually had the experience of living in a climate where it's like consistent all the way through. I'm sure there's some cool things about it, but in Fort Wayne, as soon as you get tired of winter, like really, really tired, it's springtime. And you get to experience a rejuvenation of life. Like the birds literally sing, stuff just starts popping. People have a new energy to them. It's like an awakening. And I don't think you can experience that if you live by the equator, because it's always going to be like nice. And you don't get that like reference, to base upon, like, oh, it was so tough. The wintertime was so cold, and we have a nice day. It's beautiful. So it's a great experience. I actually love that. And that actually is a huge con of living in a climate or a geographical location with 4 seasons. Then spring segues into summertime, and summer in Fort Wayne is really nice. It's warm, it's sunny, it's lively. Fall is also very, very nice. Some of the most beautiful days are fall days, and then you go into wintertime again. So I find that as soon as I get tired with one season, right at the time the next season is starting. Summer, it gets old to be hot every single day, and it's refreshing to cool down. So that is the biggest thing for me, is the biggest like benefit or pro of living in Fort Wayne in the wintertime is the knowledge that like we just got to get through this, and then spring is right around the corner. So right now we're beginning of February. We've got March. March is definitely a winter month, but April is when it starts changing for us. So another pro about Fort Wayne in the wintertime is that if you're somebody who enjoys outdoor exercise, you will not be interrupted from that. You can continue to work out or run outside every single day. The Fort Wayne Parks Department, I believe, does a really good job of clearing the paths. So we have a huge trail system in Fort Wayne. And what I've discovered is that the Parks Department actually gets their paths cleared before the streets do. It's 2 different city departments, and it's really nice. So I walk around our park where I live by almost every single day. So I get to experience being able to get outside and being able to walk and not trudge through a bunch of snow. So typically, if there is a snowstorm, that next day they're on it. And it's really nice. There is a group of people I've noticed that do the same thing that I do, and they're constantly walking around the park and using the park and running it. So just because we have cold weather and we have snow and stuff like that, it does not shut down our parks and would not stop you from being able to complete your outdoor exercises. Alright guys, well there you have it. There's the pros and the cons of living in Fort Wayne in the wintertime. If you have any questions, or if you're thinking about moving to Fort Wayne, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would love to work with you.